The sun dipped low over the ridge, painting the town in hues of amber and soft lavender. Dust swirled lazily in the air as townsfolk ambled along the cobbled main street, exchanging nods and brief smiles. It was the kind of place where everyone knew your name, your habits, and how you liked your eggs in the morning. At the corner cafe, a warm hum of conversation mingled with the clatter of cups and the hiss of the espresso machine. A figure sat near the window, silhouetted against the faded light. They were unremarkable at first glance, just another patron with a steaming mug in hand and a distant gaze fixed on the horizon. But if you look closer, if you linger too long on their deliberate movements, or the eerie precision with which they turn the pages of their book, you might feel a twinge of unease. It was the kind of feeling you couldn't quite place, a thread of something out of sync with the world around it. The stranger smiled at the waitress as she brought over a refill. The smile was perfect, practiced, too perfect, but no one questioned it. Not tonight. Not in a town so used to pretending everything was just as it should be. The cafe had grown quieter as the evening deepened. The remaining patrons absorbed in their hushed conversation or the comforting clink of their utensils. The air was warm, heavy with the smell of brewed coffee and a faint hint of caramelized sugar from pies cooling in the display case. Then the bell over the door chimed. A tall man stepped inside, his presence commanding without effort. His deep brown skin seemed to drink in the dim light, and his silhouette momentarily blocked a view of the street outside. Conversations faltered, utensils froze mid-air, the room held its breath. The man's gaze swept across the cafe, lingering just a beat longer on the cluster of wide-eyed patrons at the back corner. He adjusted the brim of his worn hat and took a step forward. His boots echoed softly on the scuffed floorboards, each step carrying a weight that had nothing to do with the sound. At the counter, the waitress stiffened. Her fingers hovered above the coffee pot she had been absently refilling. She didn't meet his eyes. No one did. "Evening," he said, his voice low and calm, like the first rumble of distant thunder. He tipped his hat slightly, a gesture of civility met only with strained silence. The tension was palpable, a current that charged the air and coiled in the corners of the room. It wasn't clear whether they feared him or what he represented, but no one dared to move, to breathe too loudly. The man reached the counter, his presence a gravitational force that seemed to pull all attention towards him. The waitress's hand trembled slightly as she poured the coffee, her focus fixed on the mug as though afraid to look him in the eye. When she reached for the sugar jar, she hesitated, then grabbed a small creamer as well. She set them on the counter in front of him with a brittle smile that didn't quite reach his eyes.
"Most folks around here,"
she said softly, her voice wavering just a little.
"don't take it black."
The words hung in the air heavy with more meaning than a casual statement warranted. The man's gaze flickered to the cream and sugar, then back to her. His expression was unreadable, but there was something in the way he held the moment, like he was dissecting it, cataloging the weight of her words. Finally, he reached for the mug, cradling it in his hands as if testing its warmth. He didn't add the cream. He didn't add the sugar. He took a slow sip, deliberate, steady. "Good coffee," he said, his voice low, unbothered. The words were almost kind, but the room's silence amplified them into something else entirely. From the back of the cafe, a chair scraped against the floor. The sound was startling in the silence, like a gunshot. A man stood, his face tight with something more than unease. He was older, wiry, the kind of man who had seen things and carried them on his back without complaint. His hand lingered near his belt, near the pistol holstered there.
"Don't,"
he said.
"don't take another sip."
The man at the counter didn't flinch. He reached for his coffee mug, lifted it, and took a slow sip. The calm was unnerving, unnatural. It was the calm of someone who wasn't worried about consequences.
"You serve that thing,
The older man said, now addressing everyone in the room.
and you'll bring down hell on all of us. You know that."
Thing. The word hung heavy in the air, its weight shifting everything. The man at the counter set the mug down, his movements steady as ever, and for the first time he smiled. But the smile didn't reach his eyes.
"Go on, then."
He said almost conversationally.
I sure hope all your affairs are in order."
The old man's hand twitched, and then, without warning, the shot rang out. Time fractured. The townsfolk screamed, some ducking under tables, others frozen in place. The man's body jerked as the bullet struck, but there was no blood. The skin ruptured unnaturally, peeling back to reveal what lay beneath. Metal, wires, circuits glint like alien veins in the dim light. Sparks spat from the wound. The smell of scorched synthetic flesh thick in the air. The machine, staggered but didn't fall. Its head lifted. His eyes locked onto the shooter with a cold mechanical precision.
"I warned you."
It said, its voice low, layered with a faint, unsettling hum. And then the cafe plunged into chaos. Screams ricocheted off the walls as patrons scrambled for cover, overturning chairs and tables in their panic. The shooter stood frozen, his gun still raised, his face a mask of disbelief. He had fired a shot, but he hadn't expected this. The android straightened, sparks still flickering from the wound in his chest. The synthetic skin around the impact site had peeled away, revealing a lattice of intricate circuitry and gleaming metal. Its eyes, once warm and human, now glowed with a cold, unrelenting light.
"You should not have done that."
It said, its voice layered with mechanical resonance that sent shivers down spines. The words were calm, almost regretful, but there was no mistaking the threat beneath them. Before the shooter could react, the android moved. It was fast, inhumanly fast. One moment, it was standing by the counter, and the next, it was in front of him. Its hands gripping his wrist with the force that made the gun clatter to the floor. The man cried out, but the sound was cut short as the android's other hand struck, a precise blow that sent him crumbling to the ground. The room fell silent, save for the hum of the android systems powering up. Its gaze swept across the cafe, taking in the terrified faces of the townspeople. The air seemed to vibrate with the tension, the unspoken question of what it would do next.